Hello, Bruce. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Ollie?
Pretty good, man.
Yeah.
So, why don't you have a look at my hands and tell me how to get better?
Okay. Why don't you play for me some 9-stroke rolls back to back? So we'll play, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So let's break that down a little bit. In terms of, you can do things many different ways, but it's always very good to outline a movement. You're trying to create a dance with your sticks. So as you do that dance with your sticks, what you want to do is create a choreography. So if we make that choreography without the double stroke, and I just play down, tap, up, tap, down. Down, tap, up, tap, down. And a nice breath in between. We'll focus on just the right to right for right now. We won't worry about the left. So just play that down, tap, up, tap, down. 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 And now make it a 9-stroke roll and doubles. And doubles. Okay. So on your upstroke, let's not exaggerate the movement outward too much. What I generally call this up to down stroke is you could break it down and it would be a very small version, or not the small version, but the starting version of what we would call a Molar Strike. So when I break down a Molar Technique, I would say from the roll of my shoulder, right, into my elbow, releasing my wrist as I come up, and then strike. That's the motion or the movement that I'm going to start to create a perpetual motion. So, but I can do that in rudimental playing as well. So again, if I do this movement, if you watch my up to down stroke, it can help add some choreography and some dance to that outline. And then when I make doubles, now the trick is not to come out too far and to expand the double inside the hand as you come up. Make
Actually, I see that your wrist is always on the same spot.
Yeah.
It's just the arm that moves a little bit.
Right, and I'm really just trying to find the elasticity of the stick, so that I get a stretchy double. I kind of imagine that my stick has a bunch of gum on it. When I stretch it up, you see the gum stretching. So you feel the elasticity or the web that is connecting your movement to what it is you're playing. So when you come back now, just feel that and that upstroke inside that, and don't come too far out. Right. But give yourself a breath on the end when you finish playing the last of the 9-stroke. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and think of the time in the space. And so you didn't move there. And 1.
Hard.
Yeah. Now there's a bunch of different ways. You can add some systems of using your body weight to fall into your bottom end, your time, by lifting your heels and letting your weight fall. That's an old Freddie Gruber thing that I used to do with him. I had a great amount of time spent with Freddie, a lot of time. But he would do some things where he'd say, let your feet fall so you feel everything falling together. So in other words, left hand, right hand, left. Just to open up the roll so that you feel you have some elasticity with your doubles. I think
space.
I think the last thing you want to have is like doubles that sound like little short bullets, like really tight. And
I don't want to shoot anybody.
No, man. This is Italy. We don't do that here. Well, maybe we do.
That's what they say.
That's right. So let's try it with your left hand and see how the left hand goes now. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and down, tap, up, tap, down. Down, tap, up, tap, down. And down, tap, up, tap, down. 3. And down, tap, up, tap, down. And down, tap, up, tap, down. And down, tap, up, tap, down. And feel the breath of the and. Cool. And the other thing that
It's
I
hard
would,
to coordinate this thing for
well,
me.
absolutely, but everything, and you know, I bring up, and we were talking about this earlier, but I always bring up Steve Gadd as a great example of a guy who is, you know, as an early kid was a tap dancer, so I think he understands all the value of up to down strokes, and you see it in his playing. I mean, it's very visually present when you watch him play, and you can see the understanding of all that. And when you do that, you're really starting to coordinate and never losing out on any space of what you do. And now starting to enact upon all the value of space that you play. But what I was going to add to that is, when you come down now, what we want to do is solidify a certain amount of strike and impact. And that requires that when we lock it in, we kind of squeeze the stick and allow the stick tip to pop off the pad and pull into the hand. And now that's a tricky acquisition. We don't just get it by doing one or two exercises. There's a series of things that you can do to really heighten your awareness of that and bring it into a place where it's usable and it becomes a natural reflex. You know, when I'm talking about teaching in relationship to my students, when I have, you know, many students for, you know, they come week after week, is we are repositioning our understanding of our reflexes. We have reflexes and we may do something funny on the drum set, and what we have to do is we have to become more aware of what are we doing, how are we doing what we're doing, and retool up the reflex so it's more responsive to what we want and not to just what it does on its own. So in terms of that strike, there's a few things inside the hand back here that are quite helpful to allow the stick tip to pop into the hand, and then of course to position it in such a way where I have this little acoustic shell here to get more resonance out of the stick. So how does that come into place? Well, that's actually pretty good. Do that again, and feel the release of your wrist as you come up and strike. Yeah.
Is this all right?
Yeah, it's actually, if you look at your hand, I would say that if you turn your hand upside down and you're holding your stick, if you're holding it, if everybody knows how to hold a clave, okay, the instrument's the wood clave, this is how you hold a clave, and you need to allow it to have the resonance. If I hold it tight and I'm gripping it, listen to the tonal quality. Yeah. Everything's choked. Everything's resonant. Yeah. So we want to create that inside the hand as well. That can shift and really help develop your tonal quality on the drum set. So what you have going on there is pretty cool. Yep. You don't have to hold it directly center in your palm. I would have it maybe just slightly off center, so that if I go into molar and I want to play some triplets, that the butt end of my stick is slightly off center, so I have a place to let it move up. If it's underneath my wrist and my forearm, it's going to bump into it. And I want to create
just one squeeze.
So you see, watch.
How can you put the thumb like this if you put it here, the stick?
Well, that's the tricky thing. That's a stretch that you work on. There's a certain couple of exercises
You
in
do
the
this?
yeah. But I don't want to just say, well, just put your thumb in, because that's easy to say. But how do you get it to just feel like it can be part of a natural reflex? There's certain exercises that you can set up to get it to adapt to the position of the stick in such a way that you can call that your home base. So once it's your home base and you understand all the rules that are set around that, you can modulate, you can move them around a little bit. It doesn't have to be so rigid. But in terms of getting that pop, that's part of it. The thumb position is actually, it's a similar thing in French grip. If I do French grip, there's a French grip strike. And if I look at my thumb, oh, there it is. If I do German, oh. And even if I do traditional grip and get just a strike from the traditional grip, my thumb is in as well. And so that can be a real good continuity. But there are certain exercises.
Is this cool like this?
Yeah. That would be a good
There's
strike.
space here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it doesn't have to be like you don't have to have any wood putty and fill in any spaces. But if you're starting with that, right, that was a good one. Did you?
But that's like this.
Again, I don't want to get too rigid with it. I don't want to say that it has to be just this.
Is it good like this?
There's a little breathing room. How does that feel?
It feels good, but it's not what it's supposed to be.
If you were my student every single week, I would work on certain things to have you be able to connect better with that. In other words, there's a mind-body connection that we do when we're learning to play the instrument. You know, a lot of us just pick up the sticks. We want to play rock beat number 1, and we want to get around the drum set and figure out what we're going to do from what we hear. And we don't really give a lot of thought to what we're doing with the sticks. So in order to better get our attention to what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing, that takes a little bit of step-by-step process.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get a little nervous about it because it's, it's like, it's work. But that's what it is. Everything is discipline. When you sit down and want to be an expert in anything you do, you need to really take the time and the space to help develop that. If you don't, you're really going to miss out on the end result. And it's a journey. You don't just get somewhere and go, all right, I got everything together, I'm cool. No, it's a continuing journey. There's great drummers out there right now that we could speak about who are continually growing. I'll name two that I can think of that I've watched over many years grow as players. Peter Erskine and Steve Smith. And both of those guys, if you go back to how they played in the late 70s or early 80s and watch how they have developed to this point in time, they're much better players. They have much better touch and much better tone and ideas. And they didn't just sit around willing it and going like, gee, I wish I was a better player. They've worked, man. They worked their butts off. So my role as a drum teacher, what I do in Los Angeles is I'm really like a drum coach to a degree. And I was very fortunate to have a lot of time spent with Freddie Gruber that helps to know about certain things about the hands. We had some really detailed conversations in the 90s, but I was already studying with him in the 70s. So we had about a 30-year relationship. Nice. Pretty long, yeah.